Good day. I am Matthias of Regenerations Creations, and today I want to talk about another of my core beliefs, that I need to find joy in each moment. In my last video, I talked about gratitude being one of my core virtues that I need to live by. I had said how before I only saw the bad and the ugly in everything, how I couldn't find meaning in anything, and how I thought gratitude was the cure. Well, this video expands on that, and it's my attempt to find meaning and beauty in all aspects of life. But first, we need to explore a bit of darkness. When I was in high school, the movies The Dark Knight and The Watchmen both came out. I think 08 and 09. They had similar dark characters that I was immediately attracted to, the Joker and the Comedian. They're both pretty heartless and vile characters that no one should really want to be like. But I was drawn to both for the same reason. They went crazy due to knowledge of how screwed up our reality actually is. They thought, though they are reprehensible, they had a perspective on life that I kind of shared at the time. Society is just a big joke. We are a bunch of animals, and we pretend to play nice and follow rules, but in truth, all it takes is a little push, and all the evil of society will rise to the surface. Like how the Joker said, madness is like gravity. All it needs is a little push. Or how the Comedian was like, a patriotic hitman for America. But then he saw the stark contrast between the ideals that America spouts and the atrocities it actually commits in other countries. Right? So it's like this knowledge that made them who they are. These characters seemed almost like a Lovecraft cosmic horror to me, where they were given great knowledge and it made them go insane. As a young man learning about the world's history, I saw something similar. It's all great men getting too much power and trying to conquer the world with military force, only to have their empires eventually ripped apart by civil war, greed, corruption, and being surrounded by enemies. There are no true rules besides might makes right, the divine right of conquest. As the Joker said, the only way to live in a world like this is without rules, because the rules were just made up so the powerful could control you. With this knowledge, how could you not be bitter and resentful? I remember thinking, why did I even learn about history? It's all just countries' propaganda, stories they tell about themselves to justify their actions. Why not just sit back and laugh at the craziness of it all and do what I want? But, of course, this is a miserable way to live. When nothing has meaning and nothing is trustworthy, what's even the point of going on? I never thought to be a terrorist or a murderer like the Joker or the Comedian, but I did live my life the way that I wanted. I just drank liquor and played video games day in and day out. Didn't care about anything other than feeding my vices and living for myself. Nowadays, I've come to see these two characters as sad instead of interesting or cool. They remind me of the broken men that George R. R. Martin talks about in his Song of Ice and Fire series. After watching their friends, brothers, fathers die horribly screaming on the field of battle, the broken man eventually flees, and he begins killing for his next meal, living off of what others create. Society was rigged against them, and circumstances outside of their control broke them. Sure, you can hate them or think it's kind of cool, but if you really understood them, you would just feel sad for them. Life seems to love to kick us while we're down sometimes, and it's just more than we can handle at times. So when we realize how screwed up everything is, how most of our life is just stuff our society's made up, what are we to do? I used to get angry and resentful about it, but living in constant anger does not fix the problem. It only exacerbates it. It reminds me of an old saying, holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting it to hurt the other person. In another video, I said that each thought and each action creates our shared reality. This means if you think angry thoughts, it leads to angry actions, which will just drag our shared reality one step closer to hell. If you live for anger, then all you do is put more anger out into the world, making it a reflection of yourself. So instead of anger, what if I just learn to laugh? Laughter is the opposite emotion of anger, as far as I can tell. Both are powerful feelings that overcome you, just from opposite sides of the spectrum. And that is something both the Joker and the comedian also do too, right? They laugh and make jokes about the absurdity of reality. The difference is they are broken men, laughing because they are fully embracing chaos. I am not broken. I know that fully embracing chaos means going against all order, which is like fighting against half of reality itself. Instead, I need to find a middle path, being able to laugh instead of getting angry at life's absurdities, but still being hopeful and striving to add to the happiness of others, not seeking personal happiness and inflicting pain on others. The best form of revenge, after all, is to not be like the person who wronged you. A lot of old religions talk about needing to harness the energies of chaos in order to create. The world is a balance of order and chaos, stability and change. We have to learn to be okay with both. Accept what you cannot control and take responsibility for what you can control. And all we can really control is how we respond to things. I don't remember the Stoic quote exactly, but it's something to the effect of, every time something really makes you mad, think about how fleeting all things are. Think about how nothing really exists for very long at all. So why let some fleeting matter affect the short and precious time that you're blessed to have on this earth? And another Stoic quote would be that truth can only hurt someone who is living in delusion. So when I was in university, I took a class on Eastern religion, and one parable has always stuck with me. I think it comes from a Chinese form of Buddhism, but my memory's terrible, and I'm not sure, so I'm very sorry. But anyways, the story goes that a monk was walking through the forest, enjoying the beauty of nature. Then a tiger emerges from the brush and starts chasing the monk. He runs and runs until he reaches the edge of a cliff. He turns and sees the tiger slowly advancing on him. Then he turns back around and looks over the cliff. He sees far below is a river filled with crocodiles, snapping, waiting for him. With no other choice, he starts to climb down the cliffside, clinging to some vines growing there. At that moment, clinging to the cliffside, with death above him and death below him, the monk takes a breath and stares forward. He then sees some wild berries growing on the vine by his hand. He eats one, and it's the most wonderful thing he's ever tasted. When I first heard this, I was like, well, what the heck? What happens next? How does he get out of the situation? That's not the end of the story. What do you mean? He ate a berry and that's it? But the professor said that all human stories eventually end the same way, in death. None of us leave here except through death. But that's not the point of the story. The point is that even in the most dire situation, with death and misery surrounding us, there's still always something beautiful and amazing right in front of us. We merely have to be present enough to notice them. So I need to be able to laugh instead of getting angry. I need to focus on what I can control and remember to be present and look for the beauty in each moment. I am Matthias of Regenerations Creations, and thank you very much for watching.